Library Out Loud updates you all about the fun and interesting things going on in the Spokane County Library District. Sponsored by STCU and the Spokane County Library District.
Hello and welcome to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker with the Spokane County Library District. Thank you for joining us today, and also joining me today, we have a couple guests. The first one is Savannah Stewart. She works at the Library District with me, and Savannah's been on the program a few times, haven't you?
Just the one.
Just one. Oh, this is only time number 2. She's here. She's got some great summer reads for us, and we're going to be talking about books and looking forward to that. Also joining us today is Erin Dodge. Erin is the communication specialist at the district, and more notably, Erin is the president of Spokane Is Reading, and we'll be talking about Spokane Is Reading and what they have planned for this year, and we'll do that a little later in the show. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
It is so good to see you both in person. We haven't
Yes.
seen each other in person very much at all in a long time, so it's good to see you, and it's fun to see your faces and talk. So, yes, surprise, library podcast show here is going to be talking about some books today. And we don't always talk about books.
No,
In
we
fact,
don't.
it's a rare thing. So, Savannah, you are an avid reader, and you always bring some great things. What should we start with talking about first?
So the book I want to talk about first is one, it's not new.
Okay.
I think it's like 2015. It's called The Soul of an Octopus.
All right.
And it's about this woman who goes to the Boston Aquarium and gets to know like the giant Pacific octopuses that are there. By the way, it's not octopi, it's
Okay.
octopuses, which sounds weird. But you can't put a Latin ending, like the I, on a Greek-derived word. So there's your trivia.
Yes, thank you for that trivia.
You can correct
Handy.
people on the
I
street.
will remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't wait for that category
Oh,
in
yeah,
Jeopardy.
exactly.
I can't wait to tell my husband.
Yeah, so it's a really cool story about her getting to know all these different octopuses. And octopuses are amazing. They're super duper smart. They're kind of, you've probably read stories about them being escape artists at aquariums because they can fit through like the tiniest hole
Oh, I didn't know that.
and they get bored, so they want to go explore. And they taste with their skin. So she went in and she would put her hands in the tank, and the octopus would kind of wrap around her to get to know her, to like taste her. And she was a smoker, and they were like, no, we don't like that. So they could taste the nicotine. So they were
Wow.
like, you don't come near me,
Interesting.
which I thought was super interesting.
So is this book based on a true story?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's just this one woman kind of getting to know the giant Pacific octopus, which is the biggest. And hold on, I have some facts for you here. One of the big males' 3-inch diameter suckers can lift up to 30 pounds. So just one of them.
Really?
And they have 1,600 of them.
Wow.
So I'm not going to do that math, but very amazing, very,
Yeah.
very strong.
And
and
the title of this book was?
Soul of an Octopus.
Soul of an Octopus.
Yeah, yeah. So they can, I mean, an octopus can take down a human man, no problem.
Oh,
Just so you know.
I'm not surprised. I've always had this thought that, what is in the ocean, that's not our world. That's a whole
Yeah.
other world. Somebody else is in
Yes.
charge down there. So
That's right. That's right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to add sharks and octopus to my list of things to be careful around.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. They are very cool, though. They're very cool.
Awesome. All right, so
Yeah.
that's a fun book. What's another one you have?
So another book that I don't have because it's very popular,
Okay.
so there's lots of holds, is called Set Boundaries, Find Peace.
Okay.
So it's a nonfiction. I like to peruse that section for like mindfulness or other things, kind of the self-help books. And this one was recommended to me by a friend who actually follows the therapist on Instagram.
Really?
So she was always posting things about setting boundaries and caring for your mental health. And her book was super awesome. It was really easy to read, and it had exercises at the end of each chapter to kind of help you practice setting boundaries. And for me, the biggest thing was when you're setting a boundary, you don't have to explain why. You don't have to apologize for it. You just clear, concise, and assertive. And that's very hard for me because if I'm saying no, I feel like I have to tell you all of the reasons.
Yes.
All 10 of them
Yep.
that I've thought about
Yep.
to the point where you're like, wait, what's the boundary? I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. So it was a very good book. I highly recommend it.
That's very important.
Yeah.
We're going through this kind of revolution right now. Well, I don't know about revolution, but, it's a very hot topic right now. Self-care, taking care of yourself, setting boundaries. I know a lot of guys out there are like that too, but it is a thing for women that's tough for us.
It's very hard.
And it's tough if you're working from home and you have children and or spouses or pets or anything, setting some sort of limits of this is my work time and my workspace.
Yeah.
This is my family time and family space.
Yes.
Where maybe you had actually an office before to go to that would
Yeah.
set that
Yes.
boundary for you. That's gone for some people. So.
It's
it is.
hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And there was different at the end of the book. They had chapters for specific situations, like how to set boundaries with family, how to set boundaries with work, with friends or romantic relationships. So, and it was really nice because she'd lay out like, here's what healthy boundaries look like when dealing with like your parents and stuff. And it was enjoyable to go through and like, okay, yeah, I do that. Okay, cool, I do that too. And then like a few of them I was like, ooh, I do not do that, but I probably should.
Yeah.
So that one was really good.
And then was that a new book then?
Yeah, I think it definitely came out this year.
What's the title again?
Set Boundaries, Find Peace.
Set boundaries, find peace. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's good.
those newer books, there's a holds list. So yeah, go online, put your name on the list, and
Yeah.
get it there. So that sounds like a good one.
The Soul of an Octopus is actually on Overdrive too, so if you want to listen to the audiobook, which my dad just finished. So
Awesome.
and he really liked it. He thought it was really
Audiobooks
good.
are the best. Yes, I don't know why it took me so long to discover them.
Yeah.
But once I did, it's if you have to drive somewhere, it makes the
Oh,
drive
gosh.
go like that. And,
It does.
And I've actually sat in the parking lot and listened
To
to the
finish
rest
a
of
chapter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
A
audiobooks
reason
are-
to drive early, get
Yeah.
early at places.
Kind of excited
Well, it's
to get
also
in the
good,
car.
like when you're doing housework or those type of things.
Cooking
stick-
dinner.
Stick my headphones in.
Yeah.
And listen to a
Yeah.
book. Counts, right?
It totally
Yes.
counts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of multitasking. What other books do you have? You have some here too.
I do. I
Yeah.
do. I brought some travel guides actually.
Oh, travel.
So I don't know if people know that we have these at the library, but there's tons of travel guides on so many places. And the library is really good about getting the newest version. So I have this Essential England, and it's 2021. So it's the most recent.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah, and we have DVDs, the Rick Steves stuff.
Nice. That's
so
right.
I'm planning on next year going to England and Scotland. So I was like, well, I'm going to watch some videos so I know what I'm seeing. Like, I know it's going to be cool, but I want to know background and
Yes.
understand how cool it is.
Yes.
So that's my plan, is to watch some of these travel videos. And it was also very fun during COVID when everything was shut down to escape that way, because I like to travel and I like to go places, and I usually have a few trips a year.
Yep.
And I couldn't do that. So Travis and I, my partner, we would check out travel guides and some shows and some DVDs so that we could, travel from home.
And was, something during the whole closures of businesses and things, while we were closed to the public, the library, we were still open.
Yeah.
Our collection service department was still ordering books and putting new things out on the shelves. And then, of course, when we
Yes.
started curbside, then we could get those things out to the public. So there is a ton of new stuff.
So much.
If you haven't been to the library since we've reopened, there's a lot of new things out there that, in great condition, haven't even been touched yet.
Yeah,
So,
probably the first person to have a couple of these.
yeah.
Which is
yeah.
exciting. That's my
Yes,
favorite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably also worth mentioning at this time that with another heat dome headed this way, we are air conditioned.
Yes.
Our hours are expanded. Stop by the library, cool off, check out some of these new books.
Yeah.
Be safe and have some fun at the same time. Yeah.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
For no charge.
Yeah, I definitely, every time I go into the library, I come out with a stack they probably should have shopping carts for the amount of books that I check out. Like, I'm always
right.
like, okay, somebody get the door for
Well,
me.
you can check up to 50 books at a time.
Yes.
And Savannah makes sure that that's an accurate number.
That's right. Yep. And then I come home and I'm like, look at all these books I don't have time to read. Like, there's no way I could finish these all. So,
All right, we have a couple more minutes. One
Okay.
more book. What other book?
okay.
Unless you think you can fit 2 into that amount of time.
Oh, I maybe.
Yeah.
One of the last ones I want to talk about is I emailed some of my friends to ask, what have you read lately that you really enjoyed? And one of my friends really liked Circe,
Yes.
which happens to be a Spokane Is Reading book from
2019.
2019.
yeah.
Yes. And this one, have you read this? Did you read this one, Jane?
I have it. I have not read it yet.
You've read it.
I've read it. It's good.
It's very good. It's about the witch from the Odyssey,
Yes.
but from her point of view of things that happened. And it kind of was a little bit slow to get started because there was,
There's a little bit of a, yeah.
they had to lay foundation
Exactly.
because I don't know a lot about like Greek things or like I know nothing. It's literally all Greek to me. So it took me a minute to get into it.
But I think she built the world pretty well.
Yes.
And then once the action really started, it just rolled right through.
Yeah, I couldn't put it down. I definitely I don't know, maybe 50 pages in, I was like, oh, we're here now. Like, we're going to
Yeah.
read this whole thing. I'm not doing anything else for the rest of the day.
I went to Spokane Is Reading when the author was here and listened and heard all about the book, and I bought a copy. But again, like you checking out books, I do that too. I check out the books,
Yep.
and the stack is just there. And Circe's in the stack. I should probably just read it in August. I should just say August is
Yeah.
that book.
Yeah, it's great. It's a really good one. I love the retellings, like from a character that was maybe a side character in a main story, and you get to see it from their point of view. I love that. I'm always picking up books like that.
Yeah. It's like a spin-off from a good TV show.
Yeah.
Only better when it's
Way
a book.
better.
Yes.
Yeah, because the spin-offs don't always work.
That's right.
So,
All right. Well, Savannah, you'll have to come back again and bring more books. We'll talk about more
course.
books. In fact, we might even give you the whole show next time.
oh boy.
I do appreciate
I
you.
could fill it up.
I appreciate you coming in. It's so good to see you. And stick around because we're going to talk about Spokane Is Reading with Erin. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on Library Out Loud after this.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
I'm Jade Becker, and I'm a senior at Chewelah High School. I'm at STCU's Money Live event. In this scenario that we played today, I was a realtor. My spouse was a city worker. We had an 11-month-old child, and there was a lot of spending for that child, like diapers and formula, and had to buy toys and clothing. I'm very glad that I had this experience. It was super helpful. You need this to get far and ahead in life. I'm Jade Becker, and STCU is here for good.
Welcome back to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker with the Spokane County Library District. Joining me is Erin Dodge, who is president of Spokane Is Reading. We also have Savannah Stewart sticking around, also from the district. So we're going to talk about Spokane Is Reading. I love this program. Every year we bring in an author. Well, we should talk a little bit about the history of it.
Sure.
But it is a collaboration
is.
between the Spokane County Library District, the Spokane Public Library System, and Auntie's Bookstore.
Yes.
Been around for how many years now?
This is year 20.
20 years.
20 years this year.
And every year it's one book.
Except for last year and this year. It's one book, one author.
We'll get to that.
Okay, yeah.
One book, one author, and then we have the author come in. But the whole
Yes.
goal is to get the whole city reading.
A community-wide, county-wide read, one book.
Yes.
Everybody's reading it. You have something to talk about with your neighbor or the person you meet in line at the DMV. I mean, as long as you both read the book.
Yes.
So yeah, that's Spokane is Reading, and the thing that I really like about Spokane Is Reading is it's targeted towards adults. There's a ton of great programs targeted towards children. This one's targeted towards adults that maybe after college you're not reading so much. You've got work, you've got business, nonfiction books to read. You don't get to relax into a book.
Yes.
And Spokane Is Reading gives you that one book that you can at least relax into, usually through the summer into the fall when the author comes, usually September, October, and we get to meet them and hear more about the book. So
Yeah.
it's a fun program.
Great program.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, now let's talk about the last two.
Okay, yes.
There's been some differences with Spokane Is Reading.
Of course.
Obviously, 2020 was not a good year for any event in which
Yes.
people gathered. But that didn't mean Spokane Is Reading didn't follow through with some stuff. Talk about what you did.
So last year it was a diverse reads book list, and we had 15 titles, and they were all great titles that, for whatever reason, usually budget reasons, we could never have brought the author here.
Sure.
But they're such great books, and as we read books every year, we're like, oh, too bad we can't bring that author or this author. So this was a chance for us to say, we love these books, read them with us. And
Yes.
so we had a lot of good response. We had a book giveaway online through Instagram. We're doing one again this year, and we're doing another book list this year. This year we didn't choose any of the books. So that was different.
Yes, that's different.
What we did is we went out to previous Spokane Is Reading authors, so one of them, Jess Walter, who we all know and love, Spokane favorite, to recommend their books that they read recently that brought them joy and hope or laughter, sort of a positive, uplifting book or two. In some cases, some authors couldn't pick just one.
Yes, they must know Savannah.
Yes, exactly. And so we have a dozen this year. We have 12 books. And
What a great idea, having the authors who've been here suggest books.
I think it turned out really well. It's a very eclectic mix. It's a mix of fiction, nonfiction. There is, in fact, I have my list here because I was never going to remember all 12. But for example, I'm getting this one from my husband. I got to put a hold on it. I Came as a Shadow, an autobiography by John Thompson. So I don't follow basketball very much, so I don't know who that is. He's like, oh, is that senior or junior? And I'm like, okay, honey, you need to read the book.
You tell me.
Yeah, you tell me which one it is. He's like, well, they're both famous, and they both, anyway, he went on and on. So he's going to really enjoy that book, I know.
Yeah.
And then Anxious People, I just started it last night.
I just read that one too.
Frederick Bachman, who wrote
A Man Called
Ove. Yes, which is
Yes.
very popular book, and it's this one is about a bank robber, and that's all I know so far, except that reading the first 10 pages, I was hooked.
It's so good.
It's very what do I want to say about it? It's just like, it feels very fresh and frank and honest.
Yes.
But then there's also the potential I can see for some fallibility in the narrators. Sort of, they're very human.
Yeah.
And they admit, like, yeah, okay, so we all have troubles being a parent sometimes, right? That sort of thing. So you're like, oh yeah, I have troubles being a parent too. I'm hooked. Let's read some more. So
Interesting.
I'm
That's
looking
called Anxious People?
yes, and I've heard from 3 people that it's laugh out loud hilarious.
I
Okay.
almost brought it today.
All right. I will be putting
4
that one on
people.
hold.
It's very funny. It's very funny.
And I brought a couple others just to show some. This is a nonfiction. It's Love, Nina, a nanny writes home. And this is also supposed to be pretty uplifting and funny. And it's her experience as a nanny in New York. I believe in New York. I haven't read it yet. Again, that's the thing. I normally have read every single Spokane Is Reading book before the author comes. This time I haven't read any of these books. So I'm reading it with you as we all read. It's great.
That book, I picked it up when we were waiting to come on camera, and I just opened it to the middle and started reading. And it is a letter, and it's from the nanny.
Oh, yeah, it's
and
epistolary.
she's complaining about one of the kids having to wear 2 shirts, wants to wear 2 shirts all the time.
Yeah,
and
the spit up shirt and the.
I don't
or
know.
something.
She said she didn't understand why the kid wanted to
Oh,
always
the
wear 2
kid
shirts.
wants to wear 2
Yeah.
shirts. Okay.
So I
Perfect.
think, I don't know, I picked it up in the middle. But when you can do that, just pick it up and start reading and go, oh, I want to read more of this. I want to know more about this. That looks like a good
So
one.
yeah, observant, funny, terse, enchanting. I have never laughed so hard reading a book. J. Courtney Sullivan,
Love that.
author of The Engagements.
And who suggested that one? Which author?
Oh, yeah. That would be Maria Semple.
Maria Semple. She was a hoot
This is
when she
our
was
this is
here.
our little poster. And so Jess Walter recommended 2. He recommended Washington Black, which you might have heard of. So I'm going to read what he said about it, because I think this is really interesting, because you would look at that book and you go, that's a joyful book, or that's an uplifting book. So here's what he had to say. It might be surprising to suggest a book that begins with the horrors of slavery as an uplifting read, but it's thrilling to watch the hero of this novel escape the West Indian plantation on a hot air balloon and experience a whole wide world of 19th century adventures.
Oh,
I'm hooked, right?
That sounds
Yeah.
fun. Yes. That sounds like a lot of fun. And you're right. I don't know if I would have picked that book up and said, this is one that's going to bring me joy. So,
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I think these recommendations are awesome. I have another quote for anxious people. I know we've already talked about it a lot, but this is pretty funny.
But it
so
is
this
so
is
good.
Amy Stewart, who wrote Girl with Gun, Girl Waits with Gun. She wrote, "For pure escapism and stress relief, I recommend Anxious People, about a bank robber who really didn't want to harm anyone. It's a warm, comforting book about people overcoming difficult circumstances through the help of strangers. It was a good friend when I was awake in the middle of the night wanting something to read until I could fall asleep again."
Oh,
So it's one of those
great
books.
endorsement of that book. Yeah.
It's also, the author's Swedish. So some of the writing or some of the things they talk about, you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely not America. But it's funny. It's so funny.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So there are 12 books, and it's a
Okay.
mix. And I also wanted to mention audiobooks. You mentioned it earlier. Is Transcendent Kingdom by Yasi, and on audio CD. So if you have a CD player in your car, or just
Or at home.
at home,
Yeah.
boom
you can
box.
a boom box.
So that
A
is
whole new boom box with
the boom.
like an
Who does
audiobook walking down
boombox?
the streets.
Amazing.
That would be amazing.
So Erin, let's look at that. Hold that up. You checked that out, right?
I checked that out. Yes.
Checked it out at the library.
At the library.
And open it up. This
Yes.
is,
It's 7 discs, so
Yep.
you get all 7, and they're
Yeah.
numbered very clearly. 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And
there's
it still has the book's description, everything on the back. Oh, 8.5 hours. It tells you how long you'll be listening.
Awesome.
As long as you listen on like single speed. I don't know if some CD players can make it go faster. Yeah. So her first novel was Homegoing, and that was actually on the Diverse Reads book list last year.
It was
Interesting.
very good, too. I
Interesting.
read that
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
So great author.
Great author, and it's called
Transcendent Kingdom.
Transcendent Kingdom, and yes, obviously available on audiobook.
And you'll I think Overdrive. You can
And
get Overdrive.
Overdrive.
You can get ebook, and there'll be some copies, physical copies as
Physical
well.
copies of the book.
It's kind of a mix of what you'll get depending on which library you go in.
Sure.
There were 2 left. These were the 2 books left at the one I went in. So these are very popular books. People are picking them up and checking them out already.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And they're not all new books, right?
No,
Some of them are older.
Let's talk about one of the older ones.
Okay.
Endurance, the Shackleton. I can't even read this. It's so slow. Anyway, let's do it this way. Shackleton's Incredible Voyage, and I didn't print out that quote, but it was by, who chose that book? Mary Roach, who writes a lot of nonfiction. You might have heard of her. She's written some ones about like after you die, what happens with your body, and
the corpse book.
and the one about
I don't know if that's what
yes.
it's called.
It's not.
It was really good, though.
It's not called that.
But it is about dead bodies.
And then there's one about space travel, and she's got some really great books. And she was one of our authors a few years back before I joined
Yes,
Spokane Is
yeah,
Reading.
several years ago.
And I don't know the exact quote, but she basically was saying, the reason she chose this book was because Shackleton's spirit and his endurance, like he made sure that group, even though they were stuck, they're in ice and they couldn't get out, he made sure everybody lived. I mean, they basically made it, and he kept his his calm, his demeanor. He was still a decent human being. And when he finally, I guess, got in a small boat and rowed to a place where he knew that there was somebody there that could come and help them by himself. And it still was at the door, was like, hey, I'm Shackleton. And the person's like, yes, you are, even though he did not look the same, you know, beard, hair, skinny, all of that. So it's just, she said it was very uplifting to her to see that perseverance.
Yes.
And a great book to read, even though it's been around since the 70s, I believe, that story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, great stories. They help people get through the times that we've just been through and
Yes.
and continue to go through. There's so much hope and promise when you read these books, and there's something inspiring about somebody else, you know, making it through, and you're getting as the reader, cheering on that character, and then, you know, to incorporate sometimes into your own life that helps you get through. So reading's so important in more ways than one. Not only do you learn about the proper plural verb of plural word of octopus, but, you know, for knowledge, we've always read for knowledge, but there's reading for other reasons.
Empathy.
And empathy and relaxation and
Comfort.
just giving your brain comfort and giving your brain a break. So why I really love it that you brought the CDs there to show that, you know, the audiobooks at the library are not just on CD. We mentioned Overdrive, and Overdrive you can actually download it onto your phone and plug it in. Like, that's how I do it. I download it. But we have the technology to fit just about anything anybody has at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's great. Read. I know we talk about this. Gwendolyn comes in here, you know, we do the programs, and she's talking about getting the kids reading. But for everybody, it's good for all of us.
It's great.
Yes. And that means time. So I wish we could talk longer because there's so many good books and so many things to talk about. But instead, just come by the library and see it all, right? Thank you for being here.
Thank
you,
you.
Savannah.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Erin,
Thank
for
you.
getting up and coming in and being on camera. I know it's a little stressful, but it's always a joy to have you here. So
was
come
great.
back again soon.
Okay.
Thank
All
you so
right.
much, Jane.
And thank you for watching and listening to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker, and see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or check out any of our other programs on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Sponsored by the Spokane County Library District and STCU.